we're going to ask everybody to please, hi, Mary.
Hi.
Please
Yes, you
shut
gave
off.
me the password.
We're going to ask everybody to please shut off your video because it makes a better recording. Okay. And so I'm going to hide non-participants. So we're going to ask everybody to shut off their video. And then at the end, when we have question time, hopefully we'll have question time. I have a lot to do here. We'll allow you to go ahead and turn it back on. So Lisa, she can't hear us.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Hey,
hello.
Hey, everybody.
All right, Lisa. Lisa is our sponsor here. She's with White Rose Senior Center. And we don't have much time today because we only have 40 minutes. Just for the record, if I'm not done, give me a minute and you can log back in. But I really like to get done because I have to render the video before I can log back in. So we could actually continue the meeting if we have to. The White Rose Senior Center and I have been in classes for 20 years, maybe more than 20 years by this time, right, Lisa?
Seems like it. So, yeah.
So when we do virtual meetings, there are no sponsors, there are no grants, and that's why the meetings are free. But if you feel like donating to White Rose, the information is on the bottom of the recipe flyer. So Lisa, do you want to give a quick 2 cents and then we'll get started?
Okay, well, not only if you want to donate to White Rose, but if you want to donate to Deb, because she's doing this all from her home, buying all this ingredients. So it would be, you could go through PayPal at the bottom of the sheet for that as well. So welcome, everybody. Have no idea like when we might restart. Did hear something from Spring and Sperry Township, but I'm not sure what we're doing for the fall. So anyhow, I'm going to turn it over to Deb because I don't want to waste time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You can mute or shut off your video, and I will, and that way then it makes a better recording.
Gotcha.
There we go. And I'm gonna mute everybody, that way, if I can do that, or how do I do that? Participants, mute all. And then at the end, current and new participants will be muted. The end, you can unmute and you can turn your video back on. We're making 1 sheet pan meals. We're going to make 3 actually. Think I can do that? I don't know if I can or not. But the first one is a fish and asparagus recipe. And so I started with leeks. Leeks grow in very sandy soil. And so you just cut off the end like this and slice it pretty much end to end. But they tend to be very sandy. And that's why I soak it. This is soaking in water. So it's sliced, but you soak it after you slice it. And that way you can get out the water from between the cells of the asparagus. So we got our asparagus ready. That was quick, wasn't it? All right. And then we don't have our asparagus ready. We have our leeks ready. We have our asparagus here. And so the way you decide where to cut the asparagus, like how long do you want it to be cut, this is the way it comes, is asparagus just naturally breaks at the point, this is fibrous and this is edible. And so that's what you do. You just real quick run through your asparagus and break it right there. Pretty easy, huh? Okay, and then we'll put this in. And these are 1 sheet pan meals, meaning everything's on the same sheet pan. Protein, carbs, and fiber. Fiber is the vegetables. These are really healthy meals, roasted meals, vegetables. So since the key here is to have things that are going to all cook in the same period of time. And so this is a pretty quick cooking dish, so I'm going to cut my potatoes kind of thin. I could use any kind of potatoes, but we'll use some nice thin sweet potatoes here. Like logs. And a little bit of garlic. Now you guys all have recipes. If you don't have recipes, you can join the group. It's I believe it's / White Rose Books or something like that. I'll send out an email after we get done here. So if you're not in the group, you can join the group. And if we have any questions, the thing about the group is that I can take questions there that we don't get a chance to answer. And I can put the video there if I actually remember to record it or remember to render it properly. Last time we had a little screw up. One of the benefits of being here for the live class is that if I make a mistake and forget to record it or forget to render it, then you still get to see the real thing. This is a really good, I would recommend buying a good garlic press because then you don't have to peel your garlic. You just put it in there. This one happens to be a little bit of olive oil. These roasted meals are just so easy, so quick, and the way to go. Just, there's so many variations. We'll make a couple of lemon slices here to cook whole to make it like decorative. Then we'll squeeze the rest of the juice in there. So this, I'm using fish here, and this is a good dish to do with, like if you have a vegetarian in the family, you could do tofu or thin cut pork chops. See, the asparagus cooks quick. The asparagus cooks quick. And we'll put a little bit of lemon juice in here. And asparagus cooks quick. The leeks cook pretty quick. The fish cooks quick. I have cod here. But so we want to put everything together that kind of cooks in the same period of time. So if you use something like a pork chop, it has to be a thin cut pork chop. And I think I wrote down thyme for you there, but I don't have thyme in my garden. I think I wrote down tarragon, but I happen to have thyme in my garden. So you just reverse pull gently off the leaves, off the stems. And then if some of the stems come off with it, it's okay because it's tender. So you just reverse pull it off. Tarragon, the stems are soft. This is what they call a soft herb. These are thyme is called a hard herb. And what they're referring to is the stem. So a soft herb, like basil, tarragon, what else is there? Parsley. Cook with the stems as well. Am I missing something in here? The fish probably. I got the lemon. Oh, salt. So I probably eat a 1 sheet pan meal, roasted meal not every night, but 2 or 3 times a week. Usually prepare, looks like I'm going to be eating for a whole week, doesn't it? Because I'm going to have to eat all these things I'm making here today. Okay, get that tossed around. Spread it out on the sheet pan. And then take your fish. This is what I do. It could be chicken. If you're using chicken, use a nice thin chicken breast. Just in this case, just rub it around on the inside there. I mean, if we had sliced pieces of chicken, we could have tossed it with it. And the more surface space you cover on your sheet pan, and on this, I would fold this flap under. Now you could use salmon. I'm not a big fan of salmon. I don't know why. Salmon's usually cut a little thicker meat. And if it's too thick, you can always like butterfly it so that it lays a little flatter. So if this was a piece of thick cut salmon, you'd cut into it this way and then just open it up. So it'd be a thinner piece. Put a couple lemons on there. Pop this baby in the oven. And we have protein, carbs, and fiber. All right, looks good. So you want to cover the sheet pan. Like the more contact you have with the sheet pan, the more caramelization you're going to have with your recipe. Now, one of our other dishes is already done. Oh, looking good. All right, this is the Szechuan. I'm going to turn this up since we're going to try to get this done quicker. you have any questions, stick them in the chat box so you don't forget. Actually, we can probably take a question or two here in just a minute. I have some slides to show you as I prepared this dish. This is the Szechuan chicken. It could be pork. And this is made with Brussels sprouts. So Brussels sprouts, 3 pot holders. They were all right here before we started, and we've only been doing this now for 10 minutes. Okay. It's not burnt. That's just some of the soy sauce down there on the bottom. Maybe a little more done. But I put this in at, well, about 45 minutes ago, I guess, from now. But I love this caramelization. And so if you look at the Szechuan chicken recipe, you'll notice that our carb, protein, carbs, fiber is vegetables. Protein, of course, is the chicken. Here's a nice piece of caramelized chicken here with Szechuan sauce on it. And our carb is the butternut squash. I want to show you some pictures of the preparation. So what I did was I made the sauce first. Put the oven at 400 for the chicken, the fish dish. Hopefully we'll be able to get it done here in 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to show you some preparation that I did on this. But this is like, you can eat a lot of this. Like I could probably almost eat all of this. It might be too much chicken for me. But the vegetable part, because it has so many vegetables in it. So first I made the sauce, and it has these, what are they called? They're dry. So I used all these different things. Now I put on the recipe chili paste, but then I changed it when I made it to chili sauce, because when we had our, I think it was our last class, we had bang bang chicken, right? I might be able to move that closer so you can see the front of the table. Well, okay. So I changed it to chili sauce instead of chili paste, but that doesn't matter. I use sriracha, chili sauce, honey, soy sauce, sesame oil. I love sesame oil. Sesame oil, you only need a little bit and you get a big bang of flavor. And I made up that whole recipe that on the PDF, but I only used half of it. And I tossed these vegetables just like we did our asparagus. I didn't even marinate them. I just tossed them for a couple minutes and then spread them out. Maybe left them in the oven 10 minutes too long. A little bit of honey in the bottom there. And so let me show you. I have some slides here. I'm going to share the screen. There it is. Share. Okay, so I started out with chicken. I just took a boneless breast of chicken. It was a big one. It was a big chicken that had big. And so I just sliced it, but I sliced it pretty big sized pieces because the Brussels sprouts take a little longer. And then in this picture, I made the marinade, and there's the dried chili peppers in there. And then this is our vegetable mix, which is the butternut squash and the Brussels sprouts, which were split in half. The goal is to try to make each item the same size or shape, the same cooking time. And then over here is before I put it in the oven, and you just saw it when I took it out of the oven. This other picture down here in the center, we're not going to make either. We made this at a cooking class last year or the year before. And this one happens to be made in a skillet, but it's a good one sheet pan recipe meal too as well. It's 3 or 4 different kinds of squashes: butternut squash, yellow squash, zucchini squash. Then there's apples and onions. And when it's just done, I put it on the stove and I deglaze it with red wine. So that recipe is included in your flyer as well. So those 2 bottom pictures right here are the bottom right are the Apple Harvest Skillet chicken. Okay, so where were we? Let me go back. Where's my, oh, there it is. I'm confused. Show grid video. What, stop screen? Oh, there it is. Don't worry, I know exactly what I'm doing. All right, seems to me that maybe I shouldn't have pushed that forward. Okay. So I just mix this up, and now I'm going to save the other half of this. I only used half of it to toss the vegetables, and I use it probably on the grill. I'll do some chicken breasts or some other kind of recipe and use this as a marinade and put something on the grill. So this is a total one pot meal, one cheap pan meal. I'm going to show you another one. This is excellent. I know it's a little bit dark. Probably could have took it out of the oven a couple minutes ago. But I wanted the illusion that I was taking it out of the oven and putting one in at the same time. So I left it in there too long. Ooh, it's a little spicy. If you don't want it spicy, you can skip the sriracha sauce. Again, you can use chili paste or chili sauce, whichever you prefer. Or you can not put in the hot chili peppers. You don't want it too spicy. So, back to the fish. Now I used cod. All right, this I think had 2 pieces. 12 ounces. I got it at Kroger. They have the same thing. It happens to be white Kroger brand, but I'm sure that wherever you shop, Wise Market, Giant, Martin's, they have the same kind of thing. The reason I like these kind of packages is that, let me see, is that focused? Not moving around, Deb. This kind of fish is fresher than most fresh fish. And the reason I say that is because this is cod, it could be haddock, it could be flounder. The fishing boats out there, wherever they are, Norway or wherever they are, who knows where they are, they're like total processing plants. They catch the fish, they gut the fish, they skin the fish, they process the fish, they chop it up, they put it in a cryovac bag, and they put it in a bag like this, all within 24 hours of being caught. Whereas when you buy fresh flounder or fresh haddock, or first of all, it might be just thawed out flounder, thawed out haddock. And second of all, if it is truly fresh, chances are it's 4, 5, 6 days old out of the water before it even gets to the store. So this is one of the freshest ways to buy fish. So I like to use wild caught. You buy salmon, it's the same thing. Use wild caught salmon. Alaskan wild caught salmon is one of the most sustainable fish harvests in the world. And we don't have enough time to talk about it, but they have a whole system up there. I went and toured some of the fisheries in Alaska where they're catching it's wild caught Alaskan salmon, but they have like this system of having the fish come back to the same place to spawn in their control and then leaving again. So it's pretty interesting. You should do some research on it. There's the other pot holder down there. All right, so our fish is cooking. Why don't we got a couple minutes here. I'm going to show you one more recipe till that comes out of the oven. But what I'd like to do is take some questions now. So if anybody has a question or wants to unmute their line, feel free to do that. And we'll go ahead and take questions. Let's see here. Lisa, do you want to unmute your line and say something?
Okay, anybody have a question? First of all, I just want to I think Deb is sharing the screen as she is a tech savvy woman. She can do everything. And computer savvy, I'm impressed. And I am chuckling when you always say, I am a trained professional. I know exactly what I'm doing. I love that line. So anybody have a question?
No questions.
I have a question.
All right, go for it.
I have a question.
You can undo your video. You can show your video if you want. Doesn't
All
matter.
right. Okay. So my question for you, Deb, is that if you wanted, let's say you have more people in your household and you wanted to make the fish one for more people, can you add the fish? Can you put the fish like on top of the vegetables, or do you always have to have a space for the fish? Like say if you have 4 portions.
If you have 4 people, I would do the vegetables and the fish in 2 different pans.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
And you just can make more. I mean, I didn't even, there's nothing to measure, you know. And the vegetables, the thing about the fish is that you need vegetables to cook quickly, hence asparagus. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one thing that I've done in the past is not had a potato on it at all, and serve like 2 people and make like the fish and the asparagus and the leeks and then garlic bread, and
Okay.
you know, it all fits on the same pan. Usually a nice size sheet pan can do 2, including the fish. But then, yeah, if you're going to have more people, then I would have the fish on a separate pan or the garlic bread or whatever.
So basically you want things spread out. You don't want anything.
You want your coverage. If you like the caramelization. If you don't want it to, like if I had all that squash on a smaller pan, it still would have cooked. It probably would have cooked in the same period of time, but it would have been more steamed than caramelized. Good question. Anybody else? No questions? Okay. Well, in that case, be that way. Hide non-video participants. So one of my favorite things is I work every afternoon, like I get outside by about this time and I spend the whole day outside, and my cat's talking to you. And I keep thinking it's almost time for dinner. It's almost time for dinner. I try to eat between 7 and 8. I mean, because it's summer, you know, it's freezing now. It's really not summer, but I want to eat by 8 at the latest. And so I get in the house at 6:45, and it's like, I need something to eat, or I'll maybe passing through the house, and it's like, what am I going to eat in an hour? And so this is what I'll make, and I'll make it really quick. And that is just take a bowl. You know, sometimes I don't even take a bowl. Sometimes I just put it on a sheet pan and toss it on the sheet pan itself. And take whatever vegetables you have. Now, generally, I always have celery, carrots, onions, cabbage. That's basically what I had, my staples. So I'll take my staple vegetables. And again, you want to try to make them so that they're the right doneness by all of them done at the same time. I know some people are going to say, aren't you going to peel the carrots? And no, I'm not going to peel the carrots. I actually had a picture of this, but I forgot to put it in that folder. If carrots are clean, they don't need peeled. Then it could be a whole baked potato. This one's really small. Or it can be just a half baked potato. So if I'm coming to eat and it's like 7:15 and I haven't even done anything yet, I'll split them in half so that they cook quicker. Maybe put some sweet potatoes in there, maybe not. But if it's like 6:30 and it's like, well, I should put something in the oven or on the grill, I use whole potatoes, but then the vegetables are cut bigger. So you can, you know, if you're in the mood for a baked potato, so whatever you want, sweet potatoes, butternut squash, pretty much anything. And again, it can be any spices. Just because I wrote something on the menu or on the recipe doesn't mean that's exactly what you have to use. Cooking is art. Fingers tucked back. That's skill. But the creative part. So what do we got there? I could put leeks in there, but then you're in a hurry, right? A lot of times you're in a hurry. You don't have time to chop herbs. I have all kinds of herbs. But same thing here. I just pretty much salt, pepper. Where's the pepper? The heck is pepper. I'm basically fixing all my meals for the next 3 days here today. And then spices, and it could be any kind of meat you want, or it doesn't have to be meat, right? How about some garlic powder? So I can press garlic, but if you're in a hurry, some oregano. It's looking good. Olive oil. I made this the other day. Create it with your meats too. So it's kind of the same thing here, like. So we have just whatever vegetables you want, olive oil, any kind of dry herbs, any kind of fresh herbs. Always use parchment paper. Best parchment paper on earth is also the cheapest parchment paper on earth. Go to the dollar store. That's where you get the best parchment paper on earth. And I'm serious about that. And you know what? It's $1. All right, so you remember how I always put these cut side down because I like that brown caramelization. I remember how I took the fish and ran it around the inside of the pot. The other day I did this exact same thing. I took a hamburger, just ran it around the inside of the oil, and then I left a hole in the middle. I put this in the oven, and then I came back a half hour later. This isn't done, but I put my hamburger in the center, and then came back in at 7:45 and ate my dinner. That's how easy it is to one sheet pan meals. So this one actually is probably the one I eat the most often. And it's not on your flyer, but you can see that it's pretty creative, pretty easy. Like, we're gonna run out of time in a couple minutes. Let's take some quick questions while we wait for this fish. We'll give it another. Oh, it's looking good, actually. I think it's almost done. Who has questions? Lisa, anybody have any questions out there? Anita, Chris, Donna, Gay, Gloria? Go ahead and unmute your lines if you do, and you can. Anybody can unmute their video now if you'd like. Hello. Hi, Diane. Wayla, do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I just enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
Oh, good.
This is great.
I'm glad you joined us. And Mary, I'm glad you joined us as well. Anybody have a
A
question?
lot of fun.
I enjoyed it too.
Okay, of course I have another question, Deb. It's my job to ask questions. This is
Okay.
Mary. Do you always, I should be looking at the PDF, but I'm not. Do you always use about the same temperature for all of these, or did you change the temperatures?
Well, actually, I started to talk about the temperature earlier, and I forgot. I never continued. Something else came up, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
The temperature, of course, every oven's different. Your oven might be set on 375, and it could be 400, or it could be 350. I generally cook. My favorite temperature for everything is 375. But I also tend to cook if I'm in a hurry or if I'm not in a hurry. So if it was the same scenario, like I said a few minutes ago, where I'm working and I think, oh, I should put something on for dinner, and it's 6:30, I might put it at 350, because then by 8 o'clock it won't be burnt like this one I just had. But then the oven I had at 375, and then I jacked it up to 400 because I wanted the fish to cook quicker. And so, you know, if I just walked in the door at 5 after 7, I'm going to put some stuff in, and I want to go take a shower and eat dinner, I'll put it at 400. So it depends on how long you want it to take to get done. But
So basically you're saying about 45 minutes to an hour.
depending on their item, like here, this, I lost my pot holder. This fish is less than that. So this has been in the oven 5, 10, 15. It's on, right now it's on 400. It's on 400. And it was in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. And it really is actually probably the perfection. Right?
Looks good.
Yeah. Oh, here. So here's the fish. The fish is cooked, definitely perfect. This, the sweet potatoes are definitely done.
You have less than a minute.
Pardon me?
You have less than a minute.
Oh, less than a minute. Did it tell us that?
Yep.
Okay. So the video is going to shut off in less than a minute. But so there we